Austin and friends. I was originally going to do this video walking around, but I have a paper script today because I'm trying to be organized, and it's bright and I couldn't see if you could actually see my face in the little viewfinder. Sorry, it's been a couple weeks since we made a video, or posted one rather. Allison's got a punishment coming up. If you haven't seen, I want her to remake some famous fight scene using only Nerf weaponry, just to be all the characters. Let me know if you have any good scenes that would work for that. Today I want to talk about bees. And just one random interesting fact that I couldn't fit in the rest of the video is that farmers actually hire beekeepers to bring their bees to pollinate their crops. So beekeepers will just make a tour around the country for each growing season, so they'll do like cranberries and strawberries and all of that fun stuff. So bees are one of those animals that gets a bad rap, and as a lot of you know, I'm a big fan of those animals. People are afraid of bees. So there's a few things I wanted to talk about in terms of bees today. The first thing is how they fly. People like to say that science doesn't know how bees fly, and they like to use that as evidence of intelligent design, since who else is holding up all those little bees? A bee flaps its wings an average of 230 times a second when it hovers. So 230 times a second, the wing sweeps back, flips 90 degrees, and comes forward. Below I have a link to the video that shows it in action. This wing rotation adds extra force. It flaps back into air that it has just set into motion, which adds extra energy. To adjust for the extra weight of pollen or nectar, the bee doesn't speed up its wing beats, it stretches out the amplitude of its wings. This thing I wanted to bring up was how do bees make honey. The workers who go out and collect the nectar and the pollen for the beehives only collect one thing at a time. They never collect both. The bee collecting nectar goes out and eats it from the flower and puts it in a second stomach. This isn't the digestive stomach. This is a separate one. This is a separate one used to carry the nectar back to the hive. The bee gets back to the hive. It transfers the nectar from its stomach to the other bee mouth to mouth. The second bee's stomach enzymes begin to break down the nectar from the complex sugars it is in the flower to the simple sugars that are easier for the bees and us to digest. And then small drops are deposited in the honeycombs in the hive, where it goes through the last process to become honey, which is mostly evaporation. This evaporation is helped by the 95-degree temperature in the hive and the air circulation, which the bees control by using their wings as fans. And the third issue is that, as most of us know, the bees are disappearing. In 2009, 29% of beehives in the United States collapsed. In 2008, 36% collapsed. And in 2007, 32% collapsed. And it's still continuing. It's clear that bees are really important to American agriculture. Bees are used to pollinate all sorts of crops. Without the bees, the food prices go up and there'll be less of it. Now, one of the first interesting things about the bees disappearing is, on the most part, they're not dying in the hive. Whole masses of drones disappear and their bodies aren't found anywhere near the hives. The part of the death is that these drones get confused and can't find their ways back to the hives. Dead hives aren't being scavenged by other insects. This is what happens when a beehive dives naturally. This seems like a clear indication of some sort of poison. Why is this happening? Despite what Dr. Who says, it's probably not because the bees are aliens and they're trying to escape the planet before it's being taken into the Medusa Cascade. There's no one clear, simple answer for this, and it's probably a combination of many. Scientists have ruled out a parasite, but pollutants and chemicals are high on the list. Scientists who have taken samples from these dead hives have found a combination of pesticides and chemicals. On their own, none of these pesticides would be dangerous to the bees, or at least not deadly. But it's possible that in combination the bees react to them in a way that harms them. Another theory is that genetically altered plants have somehow affected the bees' immune system. A study found that toxins from modified corn combined with a parasite impaired the bees' immune system. It results in higher bee mortality. A fungus or other disease may also contribute to the beehive collapses. In many hives, researchers found 5 or 6 diseases and fungi affecting the hive. This probably means that the beehive's immune system was collapsing. This is scary, but there are things you can do. For those of us who can't launch full-scale scientific studies, which is, I'm assuming, most if not all of our audience, there are simple things that you can do. The first thing is buy organic. Pesticides are almost certainly a contributing factor to the diminishing bee population. I know it can get very expensive, but you can also try to buy locally. Often those are organic and a bit cheaper because they don't have to go through a middleman. I'll be giving some other slightly more complicated advice in a corresponding blog post, which I'm going to link to below. So that's a bit about bees for you. I wanted to end the video in a pun, but I can't think of anything.